Good evening, everyone. This is Om here from Team CFS. I'm trying to do this recording to talk about the market setup because there is a lot of noise going around in the market as to what's going to happen, what is the expectation, how are we placed, and things like that. So over here, let's discuss both the positive and the negative scenarios that might play out post the Fed event. The recording time what is being done now is at 11:34, 30 minutes, 1 hour before the Fed policy, effectively pretty much 1 hour before the Fed policy. And let's see what's in store for our markets tomorrow. So what I have in front of me is a Nifty profile chart. Okay, there are some important lines that I've highlighted, which I would talk in the due course, and we'll see why these become important and how are we structured, right? So even we went before before we get there are a few things that I wanted to show you guys, right? So as you guys know, we had a island reversal here. Okay, so this is a island, right? So this reversal what came here, and from here we have continuously seen down moves, and whatever moves is coming up, it's not getting sustained, right? So this is very important for us. Also, to add to it, we have had two gap downs. So there is one major here, there was a gap up here. Okay, so we have pretty much not filled this gap, so we have left this gap as is. If someone were to see this 8138, that gap still stays. Okay, and we have had one more gap down here from here, right, at 8249. So there is where we have got resisted multiple times or close to that points thereabouts, right? So that is very important, that 824950 zones, and 8138 is where this gap is there, and we have not come down to visit that. So while we were trying to come down, probe into that, we got supported at that 8164 zones. Okay, so just keep in mind all those things. So we will talk in more details about it. Okay, so as a profiler, okay, what is predominant to me? If you see, these are back-to-back profiles, right? And we have had an inside profile formed within this range of 8165 to 8243, right, thereabouts. If you are looking at this candle's high, which is 8249.95 or 8250, between this we have had 2 days now in tandem, which has stayed in this range of 8250 to 8165 or 8164 thereabouts, right? So that is very, very important. So one should keep in mind of that this profile for last 2 days is stayed within it. So tomorrow, would there be a big move coming? This profile pretty much says yes. You cannot move 3 days sideways in this fashion and expect the move to continue in that way. So we are either going to break this zone of 8164 and probe further down towards 8100, or we are going to break the zone of 8250 and probe further higher. So if we were trying to probe further higher, to what points can we probe? That's a big question, right? So 8331 is where this gap down is currently sitting. So if I were to be drawing a line here, okay, so between this 8365 to 8330 there is a gap, means there is nothing over here on the volume profiles on the left side that you can see. There is a gap, so this is a void region, right? So there was nothing which happened on this region. So you can probe into the zones, and there you will again find resistance. Okay, so why should one be finding resistance at that 8300 to 330 zones? Okay, the answer for that lies in the options data. If I came down to options data, if I'm marking two things, 8300 currently as a open interest of 53 lakhs. Okay, similarly on the downside, 8000 has a open interest of 80 lakhs. Okay, so 8000 currently is having a premium on it, which is 44.5. so if I were to be taking this, okay, and telling 8000 minus 44.5, okay, that gives me 7955. Okay, so that is where my supports currently sit, 7955. So on the downside, if I were to be coming down, if I were to come down and see at 7960, is there something there? Yes, this move which came on the island reversal stopped at that zones of 7960 or 7959, right? So that becomes sacrosanct, right? So the worst case scenario for Nifty, if something goes amiss over here at 8164, and if this 8100 does not support it, you could come down, probe into 7960, and that's pretty much about it, right? So don't think too much beyond it that we are going to be having a doomsday kind of scenario out here. Okay, so this is one scenario. This is the worst case scenario that one can get to see if there is something which is very, very bad which is going to come out of the Fed meet. Okay, the other thing is, why is 8331 a crucial level? So if you came over here, okay, so 8300, correct? So this is where the highest open interest is sitting, and if I were to be looking at the LTP, it is sitting at 54. So 8330 to 8354, or this wide zone of 8330 to 8364, this is the zone in which this auction is going to get complete, or this auction is going to find resistance to start with. Okay, so if this gets challenged, a lot of other things can change. Okay, just keep into mind of that. So that is why we are telling this is not going to let go easily on the upside. Okay, so a lot of people have been looking at 8330. Okay, the challenge for market is even that. So when a lot of people start tracking a particular value, when that value gets challenged, the short covering is going to be mammoth. Okay, so how do we say that this is what got written too much today, right? And 8200 was also seeing some writing. So who was sitting and writing all this? Okay, my friend Vish, whom I treat as one of my mentors, publishes this data every day. Okay, so if you just look at the data for today, okay, on the options, the FIS did not long puts today. So it is wrong to assume that FIS bought put. On the other hand, it was the prop desks and the clients who were buying puts. Okay, so did FIS short puts? Yes, they did short puts, but it was very minuscule. So it was again clients and the prop desks who were shorting puts. Okay, so this sell figure is again from the clients and prop desks. What did FIS do? They unwinded their long calls. Okay, which clearly tells these guys are not way too bullish on Nifty to start with. Okay, and what did they do? They shorted calls, okay, to the tune of 14,000. So for every call that they unwound on the long side, they have had added a call on the short side, or little more than that, we can say 1.4 times. Okay, so they have been shorting calls. Okay, so for every long calls that they unwound, which means to say these were the guys who were pretty much sitting and writing the 8300 and 8200 strikes, okay, and even higher values for a matter of fact. But even the client and prop desks did write it. Okay, I'm telling this is being written here because the highest OI stands here, so the highest interest is going to be at that strike price. Okay, so that is the reason we can fairly conclude that FIs have been writing the 8300 strikes over here, along with the clients and the prop desks, because there has been writing through and through over here. Okay, so that is one thing. So they were unwinding calls also, right? So if they were unwinding calls, this volumes were being picked somewhere. Okay, so this is probably the volumes that were being picked on the unwinding that was happening. Okay, so if they were sitting and unwinding calls, they would have pretty much unwound somewhere inside over here, and that would have taken it there, right? So they were trying to unwind some calls, so they were trying to short some puts. So it was not great, it was not, it's very trivial and minuscule. So all the put shots that we have seen have pretty much come in the range of 8100 and 8000. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And the prop desks were also pretty predominant with the clients today in shorting puts. Okay, so someone was trying to sit in long puts also, right? So the highest thing is again come in the puts by clients again. So if someone was to be going long in this, who was going long? Okay, so that is another question which we have. So 8,200 puts were being bought. Okay, from today's data, puts longs FIs were definitely not buying. So the prop desks and the clients were the guys who were sitting and buying 8,200 puts. Okay, so just also keep that in mind, that these were the guys who were actually buying puts, the prop desks and the clients. Clients again over here is retail. Okay, also clients went and bought calls. So 61,000 calls have been bought. Okay, so the volumes that you see here are pretty much the volumes that have come. So if someone was buying something, these were the guys. So markets tomorrow trying to climb up from the options data is not giving that picture as of now. Okay, so if markets are not going to climb up, then if our markets going to fall off the cliff, what does the data say? So FIs have been long, so they are net long 75,000, right? So they are more than 2 times long, 2.5 times long. Okay, so to protect these longs, okay, these guys have also bought some puts. So if you see that, okay, shorts of puts for today, but the overall put shorts, if you are looking at it net, okay, so these guys are pretty much hedged, okay, with longs and shorts. So the nets is puts, they are net long on puts. Okay, so for every position that these guys have here, okay, this is 2.5 times long positions. They have covered it with a long put hedge overall. Okay, so these guys FIs are in today's market biased on the downside, so they're expecting this markets to go down. So if the markets is going to go down, these puts that they bought here, which they're net long, are going to give them profits. But at the same time, did they try and do something with the calls? If you see FIS calls, no, they're not let long on calls at all. It is the futures that they are long. Okay, and there is a huge amount of put. So if someone bought futures, okay, and if someone bought double or triple the times of puts, what does that mean? In case the markets go up, my futures longs is going to take care of it, but in case the markets come down, the puts are going to take care of it, right? So the puts, we also need to factor in a delta to it. Okay, so say we give it a 0.5 to 0.6 delta. Okay, so it is 318,000 into 0.6. Okay, so which is probably less than half, which is 1,50,000. So FIs are twice bearish on put when compared to their future longs, that is their net positions. Okay, and there is nothing great to blabber on their few cash market things. They were even today net sellers in the cash market. So these guys are predominantly short if I were to be analyzing the data. Okay, so that is how the FIs have stacked themselves up. So with this thought process, and they being market makers and they understanding what's going to come out of their own dens very properly, we can say that tomorrow the markets are going to have a down thrust. Okay, so if that down thrust is going to come, to what extent can this down thrust come, and at what places would people want to wind off? Okay, so that becomes very important for us to analyze. Okay, so 8,100. Okay, if you look at the PCR of this strike, okay, so it is for every 44 lakhs open interest on the put side, 18 lakhs on the long side. Okay, so 4:1 or 4:1.8, so 4.4:1.8, that is the ratio in which. So markets tomorrow, if they break 8164, which happen to be this profile's balance low, okay, just going over here, zooming it out so that it becomes better, we have had a sideways movement of profiles. With this, if there is going to be a break of 8164 for whatever reason, say it broke because these guys are biased bearish, and say it broke it, this balance that was developing for the 3 days lets go. which means it automatically brings into play my VPOC of the past. Okay, so VPOC of the past, now this got nicely probed, so that was no more the thing, but this got very vaguely probed, this VPOC which is over here. Okay, which was, let's put a line there to see where it exactly comes and sits. So that is 8106. Okay, 8106 is where my VPOC is there. So 8164 break clearly opens up a downside to 8106 tomorrow. Okay, so if I probe into 8106 and I don't get supports there, okay, where would I be headed to is the next question someone should be having. Okay, would I come down over here because there was this balance which came at 8080? Yes, you could come down till here and then try and find your feet over here. If this is not found, then we are clearly going to probe into the 8000 zones. Okay, so in the 8000 zones, if we start probing in, okay, so the VPOC over here is sitting at 8000 itself, the prior VPOC which has got probed but vaguely probed. Okay, so it's sitting at 8000, but it's already taken supports there in the past and gone up, so we'll probe into the zones. If we are probing into the zones for whatever reasons, take this 7950 to 7960 as a stop loss and stay long on this market. You can get rewarded nicely. Okay, so because there is a lot of time spent in this profile, so if you are coming down, you could end up with a double bottom kind of scenario tomorrow if something really goes very wrong with the decision. Okay, otherwise this market will try and find supports in the band of 8106 to 807879. So this is where pretty much about is where this market should be finding its support, and from there it should be going forward. Okay, so let us see how the option prices have stacked up on this market, right? So that is also very important for one to see. So currently 8200 is pretty balanced, right? So someone would have sold a straddle in this and stuff like that. So on the call side we had 101, on the put side we had 101 for a price. Okay. How do you like it? So between them 8200 has 202 rupees premium. Okay, so this 202 rupees premium, when I put for the straddle and I just open a straight calculation to see how it comes and sits. Okay, 8200 minus 202, 7998. Okay, so 7998 is my 8000 zones, right? So this is where we spoke, right? So this is where my VPOC was, right, in the past, 8000. So this zones is where the straddle writers of today are going to come under pressure if it comes there. So till this zone, whoever was sitting and writing the straddles, because there was someone who was sitting and writing big over here, okay, and someone had unwinded it, but someone is still holding it also. Okay, so this is where the action is going to be, right? So the 8200 strike price for tomorrow. So there was unwinding seen here, there was buying seen here in the 8200 put, and we know that FIs have not bought anything over here, so this will be the pros who have bought it. So this, guys, if someone played a straddle game on 8200 looking at the price, 8000 is where that pressure is going to peak up. So between 7998 to 8000 on spot is where that price pressure is going to peak up. So say you get a premium of 10 rupees tomorrow for whatever reasons, so it is going to be between 8010 and 8000 is where this auction is again going to try and find support if 8106 breaks. Now why does 8106 becomes important? We will try and see that. Okay, for this I would want to go into my options calculator. Okay, look into the 8000 100. Okay, when I'm having these two, let us add it up. 84. So if my 8200 put or call goes to 84, there is where probably Nifty is going to try and find support. That is one way of looking at the data. So for which I should be looking at 8,000. What was today's security price? It was 8184.2, right? So that is where my Nifty spot closed, 8182.45. Okay, and this is my 8,200 strike. Okay, and 8,200 strike over here has a IV of 14.03. And now we reduce this. 60 is 90. Okay, so this was 84. This has a delta of 4.2. So I will take out 8156. That is 84, 8154 on spot. 8155 on spot. 8150 on spot is 48 on spot is 84. Okay. So between the spot and the future today, what was my future price? It was having a 15 pointer premium. Okay. So if I were to be adding back that premium over here to this, plus 15 would make it 8159. Okay, 15. Okay, 8148 plus 15. 8148 plus 15. 8163. Okay, so that's my value, right? So my first support for this should be that 8148 plus 15. So that is 8163 or 8164. So this level becomes very important. So my options premium value suggest my first support is going to come here. Okay, so having closed at 8193 or 97, if we are going to break that 30 pointer, if this lets goes, then where is the next support coming from? So we need to move into our 8100 cadre, right? From 8100 I would start calculating it over here. So between 8100, how is it stacked up? This is 165 plus 67. Okay, so if I were to be taking 165 plus 67 and dividing this 232 divided by 2, 516. So if my 8100 is going to drop to 116, so there is where the next support is going to creep in. If 8165, let's go. Okay, so let's take the 8100 call option into picture. So this is having 14.66 is my IV. Okay, okay, and 232 divided by 2 is 116. Okay, so 8110, yeah, 8110 is 119 still. Now 8100 is 114. We wanted 116. So 102, 104. Yeah, and there is a theta of 4. So this is pretty much 8100. If this is going to be my next support on spot, assuming another 15 points. So between 8106, okay, where this saw, right? So 8000 or 8104 on spot is where it was giving. So if there is a break of this and it further moves down, the premium between the future and spot would reduce. It wouldn't be 15 at all, right? So we will consider it's going to be somewhere in the range of 5 to 10 points. Okay, so if 8104 is where it is, if I were to give it a 5 pointer premium, right, it is going to be in the range of 8109. Okay, so because there is a VPOC in the past which was sitting at 8107, I would still consider the zone of 8115 to 8110 or 8100 to be a support zone. So this is where my second support is going to come. Okay, so first premium on the options is going to let go at 8164. If this lets goes, my next support is 60 points down. Okay, so this is where my next support is going to come. If this lets goes, then we are going to drop to 8002. Now 8002, we already saw the calculation, it is coming out of your straddle. So this is what the straddle writers are going to try and protect. If this does not hold, okay, then the mother of everything on the options is going to get kicked in. Okay, where this has a 44.5 premium, so it is going to be a straight subtraction, and you will come and sit with a 7961 as your support. So this is how you derive support on Nifty, and we have pretty much seen that and spoken about it. Okay, so this is where the setup is. So the setup is put on a bearish note. If for some reason this zone of 8331 to 8364 gets taken, then expect a mammoth short covering up to the tune of 8467 coming in. But we don't see that happening for this setup, so we'll wait and see what Yellen does and what our Nifty does. Hope this video is of help for everyone. Thanks for listening to it and watching to it. As usual, stay tuned into CFS. We'll talk to you in the live markets. Thanks, guys.